What is currently then the biggest challenges to reach that sustainability, that substantial and repeatable, being impactful? Not only by a certain business case, but overall at SES and the ecosystem of SES.
Alignment, Olivier, is the biggest from really the top down, right? Getting not just alignment, but agreement on the problems to solve and the right way to approach them.
I think for me, alignment is and has been one of our challenges. It's you have an innovation team, you point them in a direction. I think we feel more confident now in the problems we're trying to solve. Are we going to materially shift our growth trajectory as a business, or are we going to help reimagine how we do some of these things, right? So alignment for me is, just to back up Nick's point here, is the number one thing.
Elaborate a little bit, alignment with whom?
You have an organization where you have a strategy team, you have an innovation team, and then you have product. Bruno talked about handing it off. Well, now we can leverage the immense capability we have, strategy and sensing what's going on in the market, to then hand it to innovation team to really get to product market fit. Is there something there? Then we could de-risk the handoff to product. So product are really about scale. So now we have a sustainable organization, to your point, where we have scanners, we look and see what's going on, we're talking to startups, and then we can bring that into the entire flow to make the business deliver on its goals.
You mentioned the Crew TV example. We started with, how was it, seven concepts? At least, and we present them to seafarers to get their feedback. How valuable do they see that? And we even asked them to sort them to understand, because in the beginning they said, they are all awesome, I want all of them. But we forced them to rank the different concepts to figure out which one was more meaningful to them. Design as if we are right, because we listen to the users, to the customers, but test as if we are wrong, because we don't want to fall in love with the solution. We want to stay focused on the problem and how is it taken by the customers.
So if I understand you well, you're talking about, first was alignment between handovers and how to make it mainstream.
Yeah.
You're talking about going to customers and experiment and learn from experimentation, test new things out, learn from it, and then move on, versus going straight with a finished product.
I think when you're an incumbent, everything has to be perfect. We have the luxury where we can test, as Bruno was saying, multiple times, and it's like water off our back. We're not really worried about being wrong. The quicker we figure out we're wrong, it's great, because we can scrap, put an idea in the bin, and we don't have to revisit it. There's an organizational mindset, but there's also a leadership mindset, where you need to create psychological safety for teams to execute. And if you don't, it begins to be really tough. We're, again, fortunate that we're given the latitude to fail, which is awesome, because ultimately it's about learning as quickly as possible.
I think there's almost a joy of being wrong, because it's not wrong for the sake of being wrong. There's always insight, things that you learn from the failure and that you can reuse for the next cycle. And like Nick often tells us, if we haven't failed at least once this week, we probably have not been innovative enough, And probably if we double our number of experiments, we have a fair chance to be twice as much innovative as before, So
what else do you see as a challenge for innovation to scale and be substantial? Besides the alignment, besides experimentation, what else?
That's the cultural thing. As we are excellent in what we are doing, we are always scared to risk that. That's what scares a lot of people in these organizations.
For me, innovation boils down to resources. Unless you're willing to carve out resources and dedicate time to focus on new things, it's never going to be pervasive. Right, so how do we take the pragmatic approach and say, let's carve out some smart people, put them in a direction and say, go forth and fail, so that you can start the transform side of the curve that you're talking about. Nick?
So, no, just piggybacking again on Michael's comment, if I could summarize, it's probably access to customers and even beyond them, users. And we've struggled, Bruno's nodding his head, tremendously with aligning the motivations of those gatekeepers, if you will.
You have to give the room for curiosity and creativity. You have to give people room to innovate, because otherwise they keep on performing. Their agenda is full, 120%, and then you're there with new innovation that might drive a small portion of the revenue on the short term. And it starts with everything. It starts by when you hire people, you don't just hire on experience, you hire for the appetite of curiosity and creativity. And then you give them room, you say it's free, you can take 10% of your time to create and be part, what I call a coalition of the willing. One of the best studies I've read is from Harvard Business Review, and they looked at the top transformations of the past decade, past 10 years. And there's a list of 20 companies. You have Netflix, you would have Development Bank of Singapore, you would have Microsoft in there, you have A.O. Smith on water, you would have Philips, who went from being a conglomerate to focus on health. And if you read through the articles, there are a few patterns that you can see. First of all, they were ready to reinvent, to avoid not to be prisoned in the past or the legacy. They were ready to invent the operational DNA of the company. A second thing, they were willing to embrace digital and everything they've done. Thinking data-driven decision-making, using the latest technologies and to build business platforms or business models. Then a very important one, I think, is they had decisions made at the speed of digital, meaning they were very fast on decision-making, repurposing resource. It doesn't work, we change it. And then I think one of the most important one is innovation became a strategic capability, which means innovation is not solely L192, it is enabled throughout the organization.
100%.
And then the last point is culture. Yeah. Culture as the backbone of everything, changing the culture, the behaviors of people. And I think those 5 aspects are probably super important for all of you. And maybe on innovation as strategic capability, the question would be, so you've done a lot of testing and you've shown some value to the company and they see some different ways of doing things, new customers, new end users. What does it need?
Freedom.
Exactly.
It's commit to help a team to develop something, and that's really interesting.
And then if you want to do 3 projects at the same time, you work 24 hours, that's on you.
Yeah.
But if you commit to something, you see it through. And this empowerment aspect of not having to control what your people do, when they do it, how they do it, that is so powerful. If you think about culture again.
Mm-hmm. When will it be an innovation as a strategic capability within SES?
I think we're beginning to get that muscle in the organization to say, okay, let's not look back at what SES was, but look at who SES can be. We spent a lot of time focusing on our vision and our ambitions because we want to ultimately get SES to be here for the next 37 years. So what is that vision and how does it give you the runway to execute in a number of different areas?
Because you all have the passion for innovation, right?
Well, I think we have the passion and the perseverance, right? We like to say we're comfortable with ambiguity because we don't know what the future holds and we're fine with that, right? We'll test our way, test and learn how to get out of this.
The customer's not going to tell you the problem, so you've got to continue to ask and research, evaluate, and understand and inform.
My advice to anybody starting innovation is don't do it just because you want to do something with innovation. We see it a lot that there are trends out there and then the next thing is, oh yeah, let's hop on that trend. Is it AI? Is it big data? What is it? Also sometimes seems to happen with like hashtag innovation. Innovation is more wholesome. It's an exercise for the whole company in the end and it's changing a culture. And that's the importance, and that needs commitment, and that needs also some bold decisions in the end. And if you're not willing to do that, then you rather optimize your existing business, pull out the cost of that model, but then you won't innovate. And you need to embrace that wholesome change.
It's very crucial when you're starting a new organization in an incumbent to really lay out not only the problem you're trying to solve with innovation, as you talked about, Michael, but making sure that the supporting functions understand how you're going to complement them and make them successful.
When it comes to new ideas, we tend to put more on the push side. So more features on the product, more pricing options, more promotion to the product, put the product in more places. And so that's the reflex. We tend to put more on the push. But what we sometimes forget, and it's also an advice for us as a team, it's not just for the rest of the world, it applies to us, it's to take care about the friction. Why is my idea being resisted? And you have a number of factors. You have inertia because it challenges their beliefs. You have not explained how to implement the change, So looking at the frictions maximizes the chance of success of any innovation that we're going to put forward. It could be incremental innovation, disruptive innovation, open innovation, but the rule applies always, I believe.
And I think that's where innovation is just so important rather than catching up, trying to just find the new.
I think when you look at any incumbent, 37 years incumbent, I think my biggest advice beyond culture and the things you said is there can't be any religion in the company.
Yeah.
Even if you're the father or the mother of a product or service or a business, there can't be any religion. You need to question, be able to question everything. Then truly you start having an open mindset and you truly be open to transformation or innovation like you're trying to do with L192.